For me, it's hard not to start with the guy who I think stood out the most. And all day leading up to it, I was excited because I wanted to see these young kids. And even when I got the sheet, which I'm holding right next to me of these rosters, I got there early. I was going through and like, yeah, I'm excited for this guy, this guy, this guy. And the player I'm about to mention was not someone who was going to hit that bill for me. Okay. But they stood out by far the most. And I think it's their second round pick, Daniil Prokhorov.
Ooh, Burns is going to be happy about that because he was glowing about Prokhorov in the Discord. What was he saying? Like, basically, like, I told you guys, or does anyone see? You guys see what I was saying on Prokhorov? Not necessarily being a fourth line prospect. Like, guy looks, as Sloppy says, a menace.
That's the perfect word to describe him. Big kid, 6'5", 209. His size stood out in comparison to some of these other guys. So did Polkinen. They both were on the white team. And I thought it was very obvious when they both were on the ice, size-wise, but the game was a little bit more physical than I was anticipating. Not that they were like full-on open ice hits, but you know they were pushing and shoving along the boards. And Prokhorov had an unbelievable play to set up the second goal for the white team in this scrimmage. And one, significantly more skill on that play than I was expecting just from everything that I've read up on this kid. And number two, I think he skates better than what I was anticipating too. He did not look like, oh, he's laboring out there to keep up. You think fourth liner, sorry to do this to you, Matty, but Matt Martin, I'm going to throw under the bus. Not really the fleetest of foot. Prokhorov was holding his own in that, capacity.
Yeah, he had some jump to his game, or to his skate, I suppose. Yeah, like not the fastest guy out there, but he doesn't need to be, right? You just need to be, can I stick with these guys skating wise? And absolutely, right? He makes that play offensively for Quinn Finley, who is a fast skater. And Quinn Finley got to the net before him. Of course, he wasn't as obstructed as Daniil Prokhorov was. It doesn't matter. Like he still had the ability to skate into that area and the physicality to push his way through it to make that play, and then the hands to set it up for him. So a little bit of everything on that one play. He definitely stood out, which is excellent to see. I was hoping for other players to stand out kind of like that, specifically Matthew Schaefer, which I don't think stood out particularly well. He was fine, but I was expecting more.
I definitely was too. The thing that I'll say on Schaefer, and it's going to be no duh, but the thing that stood out to me was his skating. I thought like that was the first thing that was noticeable. Anytime he was on the ice, in control of the puck, it seemed like effortless strides and, keeping his head up and trying to make plays, which is things you like to see. I do think he got pushed around a little bit by some of the bigger guys. Like I know Aitchison had a big hit on him. One of the other Long Island kids who was in Bridgeport last year, Ross Mitten, had a hit on him too. So that was one area that I think maybe you could look at and be like, okay, yeah, he could improve maybe in the strength capacity going forward.
Yeah. So the calls, I know there were some in the Discord here of maybe him going to the NCAA next year. I'm not opposed to it if he's just not ready for the NHL. The Islanders will have the final call on that. But if he happens to like not be that great right now, or not that ready, I should say, then sure, yeah, send him to the NCAA and see what he can do against higher caliber opponents, or at least older opponents than he would face at the OHL level again. And
I don't want to just off this one scrimmage be like, all right, we're making declarative statements like he's not ready, he's going to NCAA. I saw a little bit of that online. I'm like, this is too much. Let's see how he does in training camp, and maybe some preseason games before we make some final decisions on that. But that just looking for a criticism, because I think it's fair. We don't want to just be like, oh, the guy's amazing, he's the best, he's gonna put him in the Hall of Fame right now. It's an area that he needs to work on. That's all.
Yeah, and we're talking about a 17 to 18-year-old kid here. Like, he's going to need improvements. And so you're right. I don't want to sit in any declarative statement going, he is good or he is bad. He's somewhere in the middle. He's a 17, 18-year-old kid. Like, give him a goddamn break. You're right. Wait till training camp to see if he makes the team, because they're going to give him the opportunity to try to make it. And if he doesn't, whatever. Then another year somewhere else. I don't think it's end of the world type situation. It's not ideal. You want your first overall pick to be so good that he jumps right into the NHL, but whatever, man. If it takes another year, it takes another year. That's totally. He is a defenseman after all, right? Defensemen take longer than forwards.
Yeah. So we'll see on that one, but I know everyone probably wanted to hear on that. I thought both the other two first-round picks, Eklund and Aitchison, were relatively quiet. I was talking to you before we got started. Really, my only takeaway from Aitchison was something that I loved. Johnny Boychuk was coaching the white team, and there was a moment in, I believe it was the second period, they did 2 20-minute halves essentially. And after a shift, he being Boychuk, talked to Aitchison for a while, just about to his next shift, just going over, I don't know what they were talking about, but like by their hand motions, you could infer either gap control, outlet passes, something like that. But that's not the first time we've seen that. And Aitchison being under the wing of Johnny Boychuk, is that not like a perfect kind of comp for him as a bigger, a little bit offensive though, a bigger defenseman, not afraid to hit, has a good shot and some offense to his game?
Absolutely. It fits. He may not have the booming slap shot that Johnny Boychuk used to have, but it doesn't friggin' matter. He does the other stuff, it seems well. He just has to learn how to do that at the pro level, which if there's anyone to teach him that, it seems like Johnny Boychuk can or should. And so that would be dope. Obviously, he won't be under his wing all day, every day, because he's likely going back to the OHL next year. But still, if he could be there for a little bit, get Johnny's number, and then touch base with him throughout the year, that's a friggin' win, man. Which is what the entire point of this thing is, right? They've been engraced, or not engraced, but they have fallen within the umbrella of the New York Islanders organization, and now they will now reap the rewards of that by gaining access to all of the resources they have, whether that's players to speak to ask for guidance, their player development people as well, and everything else that is available to them, and that's, they're going to find the benefit of that going forward from here on out.
100%. Were there any other guys when you were watching on video that you thought are worthwhile to talk about here maybe?
I mean, Berghood looked fantastic, did he not?
Yeah, I thought both of the goalies looked pretty good for the white team. You also had Tristan Lennox in the first, came up with some big saves. So shout out to the goalies. I thought Lennox looked the best, but yeah, Berghood as well. Draft pick by the Islanders this year. Call him out.
Yeah, who's the guy who scored like basically coast to coast? Chebier. He was there only on invitation and isn't an actual prospect of theirs.
A Long Island kid. He's from Bayville.
Right. So that's one way to get noticed, man. Can that continue throughout camp and throughout the season? Remains to be seen. So that's someone to maybe look out for. Just maybe at the end of the year. I don't know where he is right now. But once the year ends, if he's available, maybe the Islanders sign him to an AHL deal.
He was at the University of Maine, that's also where Ross Mitten was too. Okay. And that's another Long Island kid. And then you have oh my God, Marshall Warren's also from Long Island too. Yes.
So a couple of Long Island connections there, which is already dope to see. University of Maine, you said, right? I just want to remember the guy's actual name. University of Maine, because I don't remember his name. It's Chebier. It sounds French type of thing.
Brandon Charbier, Chabrier. Chabrier.
Why can't I find him? Okay, never mind. That'll be for another time. That's not good podcasting. We'll deal with that afterwards. Yeah, but that's really the only one that really stood out to me. What about? Did anyone else that stood out to you from the scrimmage?
There were a couple times where Yzerman had some good opportunities that he wasn't able to bury, and I was kind of hoping to see him bury one. Would have been nice to see.
Yeah. Do you know why I couldn't find Brendan Chebier?
Spelled it wrong?
I was looking for forward. No, I was looking for forward because I thought only a forward could do a move like he did. No, he's a goddamn defenseman.
Yep, defenseman.
And he only had 10 points in 37 games for the University of Maine last year, and can do shit like that. Look out.